It's truly an honor to be with you tonight.
Uistinu je čast biti večeras s vama.
It's a little bit embarrassing
Malo me sramota,
because I'm just aware of how much I don't know about God or life.
jer spoznajem koliko u stvari ne znam o Bogu ni o životu.
I guess those are mysteries to all of us.
Vjerujem da su to tajstva i misteriji svima nama.
God and life.
Bog i život.
I don't know much, but I'm pretty sure of two things.
Ne znam puno, ali sam siguran u dvije stvari.
Life can be pretty hard,
Život može biti jako težak,
and God is very good.
a Bog je jako dobar.
And I know those seem like contrary thoughts,
I znam da se te dvije stvari čine kao suprotstavljene činjenice, misli.
As I was growing closer to the Lord,
Kako sam rastao i približavao se više Gospodinu,
I was very much attracted by a line from John's Gospel.
jako me privukao jedan citat iz Ivanovog evanđelja.
I came that you would have life,
Došao sam da bi vi imali život
and that you would have that life to the fullest.
i da taj život imate u punini.
And I guess I thought a full life meant 2 cars and everything that I wanted.
I mislio sam da punina života znače 2 auta i sve ostale stvari koje sam želio.
And it didn't quite turn out that way.
I nije baš ispalo tako.
But I would stand before you holy ones tonight and say, God is true to his word.
I mogu stajati ovdje pred vama večeras, s vama svetima i reći, Bog je uistinu vjeran svojoj riječi.
He has come that all of us here would have life,
Došao je da bi svi ovdje koji smo imali život
and that we would have it to the fullest.
i da ga imamo u punini.
I think the challenge is, and as in my case, my idea of a full life and God's idea of a full life might be a little bit different.
Mislim da je izazov, barem u mom slučaju, to što moja ideja punine života i Kristova ideja punine života malo drugačija.
And sometimes I'll hear people say,
Ponekad čujem kako ljudi govore,
give your life to Jesus
predaj svoj život Isusu
and your problems are over.
i tvoji problemi su gotovi, završeni.
The children will never be sick.
Djeca više nikad neće biti bolesna,
You'll never get a flat tire,
nikad vam se neće probušiti guma
and everything's going to go your way.
i sve će ići tvojim putem.
I wish that was true.
Volio bi da je to istina.
But I think all of us here can acknowledge that life can be pretty difficult.
Ali mislim da svi ovdje možemo prihvatiti činjenicu da život zna biti dosta težak.
And so when Jesus says, life is tough, but I'm here to give you a full and a good life,
Ali kada Isus kaže život je težak, ali ja sam ovdje došao da ti dam puninu života,
that can seem like a great contradiction.
to izgleda kao jedna velika kontradikcija.
I bet if we asked everyone here tonight in the church,
Vjerujem da kad bi pitali bilo koga, odnosno svakog od nas ovdje u crkvi,
we could talk about the good moments in life, the happy memories,
mogli bi pričati o dobrim trenucima u životu, o sretnim uspomenama,
and we all could talk about the pain.
a i svi bi mogli pričati o boli.
And somehow that all exists together in life.
I nekako na neki način sve to zajedno se događa u životu, koegzistira.
And I think one of the great questions in life for all of us,
Jedno od velikih pitanja za svakog od nas u životu,
if God is good,
ako je Bog dobar
and if God really loves me like you say he does,
i ako me Bog zaista ljubi kao što kaže da ljubi,
then why is there so much pain?
zašto onda ima toliko boli?
Why doesn't God just kind of wave his hand and make all the bad stuff go away?
Zašto Bog jednostavno ne mahne svojom rukom i da sve to nestane?
We could start now a great theological discourse,
Možemo sad krenuti sa velikom teološkom raspravom,
but I'll just give you the short version.
ali daću vam jednu kratku verziju.
I don't know.
Ne znam.
I don't know why it works the way it does.
Ne znam zašto stvari funkcioniraju ovako kako funkcioniraju.
But I do know this for sure.
Ali ovo znam zasigurno.
God has entered into our life.
Bog je ušao u naš život.
Good, bad, happy, sad.
Dobar, loš, sretan, žalostan.
And he actually transforms our life into a new reality.
I on u stvari preobražava naš život u jednu novu realnost.
The first time I had the privilege of being here was during the war.
Kad sam imao privilegiju prvi put biti na ovim prostorima, bilo je za vrijeme rata.
And I still cry over it.
I dalje plačem na tim događajima.
It's some of the saddest memories of my entire life.
To su jedna od najtužnijih sjećanja mog cijelog života.
And yet, look at this.
A opet pogledajte ovo sve.
How does God come into the brokenness of our lives?
Kako Bog ulazi u slomljenosti naših života?
I'm looking at this beautiful depiction behind us.
Gledam ovaj prekrasan prikaz iza nas.
And in a certain sense, that's all of us.
I na neki način ovo predstavlja svakog od nas.
The same one who said, I came that you would have life to the fullest.
Isti koji kaže da je došao dati nam život, da imamo život u punini.
He also said, take up your cross and follow me.
Isto je tako rekao, uzmite svoj križ i pođite za mnom.
Well, if you're giving me life to the fullest, why do we need any crosses?
Ako mi daješ život u punini, zašto trebam uzimati bilo kakav križ?
The short theological answer?
Kratak teološki odgovor?
I don't know.
Ne znam.
I don't know.
Stvarno ne znam.
But here's what happens.
Ali evo što se događa.
When Christ became incarnate,
kad se Krist utjelovio
and was born of the Virgin Mary,
i rođen po djevici Mariji,
he entered into our world.
Ušao je u naš svijet.
With its beauty,
sa svim svojim ljepotama,
with its joy,
sa svim radostima,
with its music,
sa glazbom,
with its dances,
sa svim plesovima,
with its tears and its death.
Sa svojim suzama i svojim smrću.
He entered into our lives.
On je ušao u naše živote.
Our neighborhood, our families.
U naše susjedstvo, naše obitelji.
He entered into each one of our own hearts.
Ušao je u svako naše srce.
At the beginning of John's Gospel,
na početku Ivanovog evanđelja,
it says, the word became flesh,
kaže da je riječ tijelom postala,
and dwelt amongst us.
I prebivala među nama.
There's probably a slightly better translation.
Vjerojatno postoji jedan malo bolji prijevod.
And it says, the word became flesh,
riječ je tijelom postala,
and he pitched his tent among our tents.
I postavio je svoj šator među našim šatorima.
Jesus moved into our neighborhood.
Isus se preselio u naše susjedstvo.
And as you know, he is no stranger to the pain.
I kao što znate, bol mu nije strana.
So there's a great mystery here.
Postoji veliko tajstvo u svemu ovome.
He could do anything.
Može učiniti što god želi, sve.
And sometimes it doesn't feel like he's doing anything.
A nekad se čini kao da ništa ne radi.
But he has done something significant.
Ali napravio nešto jako značajno.
The great saints say, God entered into our humanity.
Veliki sveci kažu da je Bog ušao u našu ljudskost,
so that he could lift us up to his divinity.
Kako bi nas mogao podići svome božanstvu.
And for most of us, that's the process of a lifetime.
I za većinu nas to je proces cjeloživotni.
I wish he just snapped his hands and it was done.
Najrađe bi da možemo ovako prstima i da je gotovo.
But I think most of you agree, yeah, I've never seen that happen.
Ali mislim da će se većina vas složiti da nikad to nisu vidjeli.
When Christ gave himself on the cross,
kada se Krist dao za nas na križu,
in fact, we saw a reference to it in the first reading tonight.
Vidjeli smo referencu na to u današnjem prvom čitanju.
It says that the curse of broken humanity
kaže da prokletstvo ovog slomljenog čovječanstva
was placed upon Jesus.
Je bilo na Isusu.
And he who had never committed one sin
I on koji nikad nije počinio ni jednog grijeha
became the most sinful of all of us.
postade grijehom za sve nas.
And that sin-filled man went to the cross.
I taj čovjek koji je primio grijeh na sebe je otišao na križ.
St. Paul will call him a second Adam.
Sveti Pavao ga zove drugim Adamom.
And as the first Adam brought sin into the world,
I kako je prvi Adam doveo grijeh u svijet,
the second Adam brings life and mercy and forgiveness into the world.
drugi Adam donosi ljubav, oproštenje i milosrđe u svijet.
It's interesting that as Christ hung on the cross,
Zanimljivo je kako dok je Isus visio na križu,
he literally was not on the earth,
doslovno nije bio na zemlji,
nor was he in heaven.
ni na nebu.
And there's an old saying that says,
Postoji stara izreka koja kaže,
the world did not want Jesus. They wanted to get rid of him.
svijet ga nije htio, htjeli su ga se riješiti,
And because of the sin that he carried,
a zbog grijeha koji je uzeo na sebe,
the curse of Adam,
prokletstva Adamova,
heaven could not accept him in that moment.
raj ga u tom trenutku nije mogao prihvatiti.
And so the most innocent person who ever lived,
Najnevinija osoba koja je ikad živjela,
carrying the brokenness and the sin and the weight of all of us,
uzela je na sebe svu našu slomljenost, svu našu bol, sav naš grijeh.
literally hung between heaven and earth.
I doslovno visila između neba i zemlje.
And had no place to go.
I nije imala kamo ići.
I think at times we feel we have no place to go.
Mislim da se i mi ponekad tako osjećamo, da nemamo kamo otići.
In the midst of our problems, when things get difficult, we feel stuck.
Usred naših problema, kad se stvari čine teške, osjećamo kao da smo negdje zapeli.
And so Jesus, now resurrected,
Isus, koji je sada uskrsli,
comes in great victory.
dolazi u velikoj pobjedi.
And now he enters into our stuck.
I on ulazi u mjesto gdje smo mi zapeli.
And that's the beginning of our transformation.
I to je početak naše preobrazbe.
I had an opportunity to learn this in a very personal way.
Imao sam priliku ovo naučiti na jedan jako osoban način.
And I want to share a brief story with you
I želim s vama podijeliti jednu kratku priču
about an experience I had with the cross.
o iskustvu koje sam ja imao s križem.
Some years ago, I carried a cross from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean.
Prije nekoliko godina nosio sam križ od Atlantskog do Tihog oceana.
It was about 4,200 miles.
To je bilo nekih 4200 milja, otprilike 6700 kilometara.
And it took almost 2 years
I trebalo mi je gotovo 2 godine.
and 14 pairs of shoes.
I 14 pari cipela.
It was a long walk.
Bio je dug hod.
And people always say to me, it took 2 years?
Ljudi mi uvijek govore, trebalo ti je 2 godine.
It's like, I'm going as fast as I can.
Rekao sam, išao sam najbrže što sam mogao.
It was a pretty big cross.
Bio je prilično velik križ.
And I could tell you 1,000 wild stories.
I mogao bi vam ispričati tisuće ludih priča.
But tonight I want to talk about some of the people,
Ali večera želim pričati o nekim ljudima,
just like us,
baš poput nas,
who encountered the cross,
koji su se susreli s križem
and in encountering the cross, found the God of abundant life.
i u susretu s tim križem pronašli Boga koji daruje puninu života.
It was probably one of the greatest adventures of my life.
Bila je vjerojatno jedna od najvećih avantura mog života.
And I saw miracles,
Vidio sam čudesa,
and I saw heartache,
vidio sam teškoće,
and half the time I was laughing,
pola vremena sam se smijao,
the other half I was crying.
drugu polovicu sam plakao.
I absolutely loved it,
U potpunosti sam volio to iskustvo
and every day I hated it.
i svaki dan sam ga mrzio.
Welcome to life.
A dobrodošli u život.
So I'd like to take a few minutes to share with you some of the friends I met along the way.
I želio bih uzeti par minuta i podijeliti priče o prijateljima koje sam upoznao na tom putu.
And the thing I found interesting
I stvar koja mi je zanimljiva
In a sense, we all carry the cross.
Na neki način svi nosimo križ.
You don't have to walk somewhere to encounter the cross.
Ne moraš negdje baš ići da bi ga susreo.
Every mass,
Svaka misa,
every dinner with a sick friend,
svaka večera sa bolesnim prijateljem,
maybe something going on at work.
možda se nešto događa na poslu.
You don't have to look for the cross.
Ne moraš križeve tražiti.
It has a crazy way of finding you.
Križ ima jedan ludi način da tebe pronađe.
So let me tell you about some of the people who met the cross
Da vam ispričam o nekim ljudima koji su susreli križ
and found life in it.
i pronašli život u njemu.
Just for a little background information.
Samo za jednu informaciju koja objašnjava neke stvari.
I walked the entire route.
Cijelu rutu sam hodao.
And sometimes people would join me.
Nekad bi mi se ljudi jednostavno pridružili.
And they might walk with me for a few days or a few hours.
I par dana ili par sati bi hodali sa mnom.
And then maybe I would be alone again for a week.
I onda bi možda po tjedan dana bio sam.
And then there would be almost like 200 people walking.
I onda jedanput 200 ljudi hoda sa mnom.
And then there'd be nobody.
I onda opet nema nikog.
People said, it sounds like Forrest Gump.
Ljudi bi rekli nešto poput Forrest Gumpa.
And it kind of was.
I na neki način je bilo.
Yeah. One day there were a group of us walking through a town.
Jednog dana grupa nas hoda kroz grad.
And we never attacked people, if you know what I mean.
I nikad nismo napadali ljude.
We weren't like running up to people and, hey, do you know Jesus? You know, we weren't doing that.
Nismo prilazili ljudima, znaš li Isusa i malo ih šamarali.
We would just walk down the road and whatever happened.
Hodali bi cestom i što god se dogodi.
So one day there were a group of us walking down the road in the morning.
Jednog dana grupa nas hoda cestom ujutro.
And there was a very old man sitting on his porch reading the paper in his rocking chair.
I jedan jako stari čovjek sjedi u svojoj stolici koja se ljulja i čita novine.
And he had an old US Army hat on. He's quite old.
Imao je staru kapu američke vojske, bio je dosta star.
He was an old veteran.
Bio je veteran vojske.
And we just walked by his house.
Samo smo prošli pokraj njegove kuće.
And all of a sudden he yells out to us.
I jedanput se počne derat prema nama.
Hey, wait a minute. I'll be right with you.
Ej, čekajte, sad ću ja za vama.
Well, we weren't really looking to have him join us, you know. That's okay.
Nismo ga baš tražili da nam se pridruži.
So he has his old army hat on.
Stavi svoju staru vojničku kapu.
And he's pretty old. He's kind of walking a little slow.
Dosta je star, pa malo i sporije hoda.
And he says, can I have the cross?
Pita, mogu li ja primiti križ?
Yeah, okay.
Ja mu kažem, dobro, okej.
He takes the cross.
Uzme križ.
And then he takes off.
I samo odjuri.
I don't know how all of a sudden he could walk so fast.
Ne znam kako je jedanput mogao tako brzo hodati.
He was practically crawling to get there.
Doslovno je dopuzao do križa.
And then he's gone.
I onda samo ispalio.
So now we're all like trying to keep up with him.
Sad ga svi pokušavamo uhvatiti.
And the strange thing is, he never wanted to talk with us. He never wanted to, you know, oh, so where are you from? None of that kind of stuff.
I zanimljivo je da nikad nije uopće razgovarao s nama, niti nas je pitao odakle smo. Ništa.
He had the cross and he was moving.
Imao je križ i išao naprijed.
So we're all trying to stay up with him.
Mi sve pokušavamo ići za njim.
And I noticed as we were walking,
I shvatio sam dok smo hodali,
he was holding the cross almost up to his face.
Držao je križ gotovo u svoje lice.
And he kept looking at it, and it's like he was praying or whispering or saying something.
I gledao ga i činilo se kao da moli ili šapće ili nešto govori.
And everybody said, what's that guy saying? What's that guy doing?
I razmišljao sam što taj lik priča, što radi.
Is he saying a rosary? Is he praying in the spirit? What's going on?
Jel moli krunicu, da li moli u jezicima, što se događa?
But we could never catch up to him to find out what was going on.
Ali ga nijednom nismo uspjeli sustići da bi saznali što se događa.
That old guy walked about 8 hours non-stop.
Taj starac je gotovo 8 punih sati hodao bez prestanka.
And I was afraid we were going to lose our cross.
Ja sam se bojao da ćemo ostati bez križa.
So we walked 8 hours non-stop.
I zato smo i mi hodali 8 sati bez prestanka.
And everybody said, can't we please take a break?
I svi su govorili, možemo li, molim te, uzeti jednu pauzu.
You're going to have to tackle that guy to stop him.
Morat ćemo napast tog lika da bi ga zaustavili.
So 8 hours later, all of a sudden he just stops. He just, right in the middle of the road, he just stops.
Nakon 8 sati, doslovno na sred ceste, samo stane.
Just like Forrest Gump, actually.
Baš kao Forrest Gump.
And everybody's like, oh, thank God, thank God.
Svi uzdihani, Bogu hvala.
And then he turned around and he just, there was like a light on his face. That's all I can say.
Okrenuo se i jedino što mogu reći da kao da je imao svjetlo na licu.
Maybe it was exhaustion, but he seemed extremely peaceful.
Možda je bio samo iscrpljen, ali se činio jako miran.
And he was, whatever was supposed to happen, it was done.
Što god se trebalo dogoditi, dogodilo se.
And his granddaughter was coming to pick him up in a few minutes.
Njegova unuka je trebala doći za koju minutu i pokupiti ga.
And now he's ready to talk.
I sad je spreman pričati.
And we're very glad to stop for a few minutes.
Nama je jako drago što smo uspjeli stati na koju minutu.
And he kind of pulled his hat down.
Malo je spustio svoju kapu.
And he said, maybe you wonder what I'm doing here today.
I kaže, možda se pitate što radimo ovdje danas.
And I'm thinking, yeah, I am kind of wondering what you're doing here today.
Ja si u sebi mislim, da, malo se pitam.
He said, I was very, very young when World War II broke out.
Rekao je, bio sam jako, jako mlad kad je započeo Drugi svjetski rat.
I was a kid.
Bio sam doslovno dijete.
And I went to the war.
Otišao sam u rat.
And I was scared out of my mind.
I doslovno sam ostao izbezumljen od straha.
And my great fear
I moj veliki strah
is that I would never ever see my home and my family again.
je bio da nikad više neću vidjeti svoj dom i svoju obitelj.
He said one day they were getting ready to go into battle.
Rekao je da su se jednog dana spremali poći u bitku.
He said, you know, in the movies it's always very dramatic.
Rekao je, u filmovima je uvijek dramatično.
He said some of the boys were throwing up.
Neki od momaka, od vojnika su doslovno povraćali.
Some of them were wetting their pants.
Neki su se upišali u gaće.
He said it isn't like the movies.
Rekao je, uopće nije kao u filmovima.
Some were crying.
Neki od njih su plakali.
And I remember specifically that day.
I sjećam se točno toga dana.
Pleading with God to get me home safe.
Doslovno sam vapio Bogu da me spasi, da me odvede kući živoga.
And he said, I suddenly felt, I didn't see anything, but he says, I suddenly felt that God was with me.
Kaže, i odjedanput sam osjetio, nisam ništa vidio, ali sam osjetio kao da je Bog sa mnom.
And he said, I just had a sense I was going to make it home.
I imao sam osjećaj duboko u sebi da ću doći kući.
So the battle begins.
Bitka je započela.
And all these kids start running towards the forest.
I svi ovi mladići počinju trčati prema šumi.
And then the battle begins.
I onda bitka stvarno započinje.
People are dropping on his right.
Ljudi padaju s njegove desne strane.
His friend dropped dead right in front of him.
Njegov prijatelj je pao mrtav točno ispred
And
njega.
he just kept running towards the forest.
On je samo nastavio trčati prema šumi.
At the end of the day,
Na kraju dana,
when the battle was over,
kad je bitka završila,
he was still alive.
i dalje je bio živ.
But nobody else in his unit was.
Ali nitko drugi iz njegove jedinice nije.
And he said,
I onda je rekao,
for the last 50 years, whatever it was,
posljednjih 50 ili koliko godina je već prošlo,
for the last 50 years, I wake up every morning and I thank God that he brought me home.
svakog jutra se budim i zahvaljujem Bogu što me vratio kući.
And for the last 50 years, I wake up every morning
I posljednjih 50 godina, kad god se probudim,
and I apologize to all of my friends that I got home and they didn't.
ispričam se svim svojim prijateljima što sam ja došao kući, a oni nisu.
He said, I live with this every day.
Rekao je, živim s time svakog dana.
I haven't slept a good night's sleep for 50 years.
Posljednjih 50 godina nisam prespavao cijelu noć.
And he said, I was sitting on my porch this morning.
Rekao, sjedio sam ovog dana na svojoj terasi, ovog jutra.
I was lost in my pain.
Bio sam izgubljen u svojoj boli.
There's no way I will die in this pain.
Nije bilo drugog načina osim da umrem u toj boli.
And I whispered some kind of a prayer, God, can you get me out of this?
I prošaptao sam Bogu molitvu, Bože, možeš li me izvući iz ovoga?
And walking past my front door was a cross.
A ispred mojih vrata prolazi križ.
And I took that as a sign.
Uzeo sam to kao znak.
And then he stopped for a moment.
I onda je na trenutak zastao.
And he said, you probably heard me talking or whispering.
I rekao je, vjerojatno ste čuli ili vidjeli da nešto šapćem, govorim.
He says, I know the name of every man in my unit who died.
Rekao je, znam ime svakog čovjeka u mojoj jedinici koji je umro.
And today as I carried the cross,
I danas dok sam nosio križ,
I whispered their name into the cross.
križu sam šaptao njihova imena.
And I don't understand it, but somehow the cross took them to itself.
Ne razumijem kako, ali na neki način kao da ih je križ uzeo na sebe.
And he says, for the first time in 50 years, I truly am at peace.
Rekao je, prvi put nakon 50 godina osjećam da sam istinski u miru.
I didn't think it was possible after all this time.
Nisam mislio da je to moguće nakon svog ovog vremena.
But the cross has set me free.
Ali križ me oslobodio.
And I'm absolutely at peace with my brothers.
Potpuno sam u miru sa svojom braćom.
I'm absolutely at peace with being alive.
Potpuno sam u miru s time da sam sam živ.
And I will begin my life again this afternoon.
I ovog popodnevna ponovno započinjem svoj život.
And when my time is over,
Kada moje vrijeme istekne,
I will not be ashamed to see my brothers.
neću se sramiti vidjeti ponovno svoju braću.
Can you imagine what that man endured for 50 years?
Možete li zamisliti što je taj čovjek prolazio tih 50 godina?
How would you even explain that to somebody?
Kako to uopće nekom objasniti?
Who would be able to understand that?
Tko bi uopće mogao shvatiti tako nešto?
Jesus would.
Isus bi mogao.
And so it isn't like suddenly the war never happened.
Nije kao da se rat uopće nije nikad dogodio.
But this man was finally set free after 50 years.
Ali ovaj čovjek je napokon nakon 50 godina oslobođen.
He started the journey as one man.
Započeo je putovanje kao jedna osoba.
And he concluded that day as another.
A dan je završio kao potpuno druga.
And of all the things I saw on the journey, that was to me the greatest miracles.
I od svih stvari koje sam vidio na tom putovanju, za mene osobno to je bilo najveće čudo.
These transformations.
Te preobrazbe.
One time I was out in the desert.
Jednom sam bio u pustinji.
And it was such a dangerous remote area.
Bila je jako opasna, zabačena lokacija.
There were probably about 4 or 5 people from a local parish, a church, who came out with me that day.
I bilo je otprilike 4 do 5 ljudi iz lokalne župe koji su sa mnom putovali tog dana.
I mean, this desert is vast.
Ta pustinja je ogromna.
The ground is as flat as the floor.
Tlo je ravno poput ovog poda.
And you can't tell there's no way to know where you're even at.
I nema nikog načina da shvatite gdje se točno nalazite.
So one of the local men in the parish said, "Oh, I know this desert very well.
Jedan od lokalaca je rekao, ja znam ovu pustinju jako dobro.
I grew up in this desert.
Odrastao sam u ovoj pustinji.
I'll show you the way through."
Ja ću ti pokazati kako prijeći.
I was very grateful.
Ja sam bio jako zahvalan.
So we're walking and walking and walking.
I hodamo.
And things are starting to look a little familiar.
I stvari se počinju činiti onako malo poznato.
Because 2 hours earlier we had walked by the same pile of rocks.
Jer prije 2 sata doslovno sam prošao pokraj iste hrpe kamenja.
I said, I hope those aren't the same rocks.
Rekao sam, nadam se da to nisu iste
And the guide came over.
I tip je došao.
Those look like the same rocks.
Kaže, to izgleda isto kamenje.
And I mean, I know we're all supposed to be very, nice and loving. I was so mad.
Znam da bi svi trebali biti puni ljubavi i dragi, ali bio sam toliko ljut.
I'm going to die out here because this idiot is walking in circles.
Umrijet će ovdje zato što nas ovaj idiot vodi u krug.
And I mean, I really was trying to control my anger.
Pokušavao sam malo kontrolirati svoju ljutnju.
And I'm thinking, like, God, why would you give me a guide to lead me in circles?
I pitao sam Boga, zašto bi mi dao čovjeka koji će me voditi da hodam u krug?
I wasn't having a good day.
Nisam imao baš dobar dan.
And in the middle of the desert,
I usred pustinje,
no roads.
nema cesta,
I mean, there's nothing out there.
doslovno nema ništa tamo.
Way on the horizon, we can see a cloud of dust.
Na drugom kraju horizonta vidimo jedan oblak prašine.
And this cloud of dust is moving towards us.
I približava se nama.
I think, great. Not only am I lost in the desert,
Rekao sam sebi, super, ne samo da sam izgubljen u pustinji,
we're going to be destroyed by a cyclone.
sad će nas i uništiti ciklona.
Great. This is just great.
Odlično, ovo je baš super.
So I wasn't really, praising God and trusting the Lord. I was just so mad and frustrated.
Nije baš da sam slavio Boga i zahvaljivao mu, nego sam bio ljut i frustriran.
As the dust cloud got closer,
Kako se taj oblak prašine približavao,
it actually was a small van.
to je u stvari bio jedan mali kombi.
What's a car doing out here?
Šta auto radi ovdje?
And so there's about 5 of us standing there with this cross,
Nas 5 stoji tamo sa ovim križem
and this car goes speeding by us.
i ovaj auto projuri pokraj nas.
And we're all going like just like that.
Svi mi idemo ovako.
Wow. See, that's the Croatian version of that.
To je hrvatska verzija.
Ready? On 3, we'll do it together.
Okay.
I'll do it in American and you do it in Croatian at the same time.
Great.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Oh, you're good, you're good, you're good. So that's what we were doing in Croatian or English.
To smo radili, bilo hrvatski, bilo engleski.
The funny thing is, when the van went by,
Zanimljiva stvar, kad je taj kombi prošao,
there was a woman driving the van.
žena je vozila kombi
And she goes, can you do that in Croatian?
i ona je napravila.
Try it. Very good. Isn't he wonderful, ladies and gentlemen? Isn't this amazing? Wow. Wow, 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 wow. We're looking at her and she's looking at us.
Mi gledamo u nju i ona gleda u nas.
And I think we're both saying, what the heck are you doing here?
Mislim da i jedni i drugi govorimo, što vi radite ovdje?
This car, literally was going like 100 miles an hour.
Taj auto je vjerojatno išao nekih 150 na sat.
If there had been a road, she would have gone off of it. She was just flying.
Da je to bila cesta, vjerojatno bi sletila sa nje.
And to make it worse, she had 2 little kids in the car.
I da bude još gore, imala je 2 male djece u autu.
So all of a sudden she hits the brake,
Odjedanput naglo zakoči,
puts the car in park,
stavi auto u park,
and she gets out of the car,
izađe iz auta,
and she kind of walks around the back of the car.
nekako prođe iza auta.
You don't have to. No, go ahead. No, come on. Right over here. Okay. Go. Wow. Isn't that great? Is that great or what? Man. Best translator I've ever had, I'll tell you that. So she's looking at us.
Gleda u nas
And we're looking at her.
i mi gledamo u nju.
And we both say at the same time,
I oboje u isto vrijeme kažemo,
what are you doing?
šta radiš? Šta radiš tu?
And so we started first.
Mi smo započeli prvi.
And we simply said,
Jednostavno smo rekli,
we're carrying this cross through the land
nosimo ovaj križ preko cijele zemlje,
because we want to remind people how much God loves them.
jer želimo podsjetiti ljude koliko ih Bog voli.
She says, who are you going to remind? There's no people out here.
Pita, koga ćete podsjetiti? Nema ljudi ovdje.
And I said, well, I don't know, you're here. Can we remind you?
Rekao sam, ne znam, ti si ovdje, možemo i tebe podsjetiti.
So she goes, no, tell me really, what are you doing?
I rekla, onda ponovi kao, ajde recite mi što točno radite.
And so we told her just the basic gospel.
Rekli smo joj ono osnovno evanđelje.
Life is tough.
Život je težak.
God is good.
Bog je dobar.
And God has come into the brokenness of our lives to bring healing and wholeness.
I Bog je došao u slomljenost naših života da bi donio iscijeljenje i puninu.
And her whole attitude changed.
Njen cijeli stav se promijenio.
She just got dead serious.
Postala je smrtno ozbiljna.
And she moved her eyes off of us and she just looked at the cross.
Maknula je pogled sa nas i usmjerila ga samo prema križu.
And it was almost like she went into, I don't want to say a robot, but she lost all expression and she just looked at the cross.
Ne želim reći da je postala poput robota, ali izgubila je doslovno svaku ekspresiju lica i samo gledala u križ.
And here's what she said.
I ovo je rekla.
About 3 years ago,
prije 3 godine,
my son, who's still in high school,
moj sin koji još uvijek ide u srednju školu,
was standing on a street corner.
Je stajao na uglu ulice.
Coming home from school.
Vraćao se iz škole.
He was getting close to graduation.
Približavao se maturi.
And everything was looking so good for his life.
I cijeli život je bio pred njim, sve izgledalo tako dobro.
As he waited for the lights to exchange,
kako je čekao da se promijeni svjetlo na semaforu,
there were some kind of gangs.
Bili su tamo neki gangsteri, neka banda.
And one gang member took a shot at another gang member.
Jedan član bande je pucao na drugog člana bande.
And a stray bullet went through my son's heart.
I metak koji je promašio je prošao kroz srce njenog sina.
They said he was dead by the time he hit the sidewalk.
Rekla je dok je udario u pločnik, već je bio mrtav.
She said, when I got the news,
kaže da kad sam dobila vijest,
I didn't cry.
Nisam plakala.
I didn't scream.
Nisam vrištala.
I didn't do anything.
Nisam učinila ništa.
My husband and I went to the hospital, identified the body.
Moj muž i ja otišli smo u bolnicu, identificirali tijelo.
I have these two little girls.
Imam još ove 2 curice.
We had the funeral.
Imali smo sprovod.
And I just got on with my life.
Ja sam samo nastavila sa svojim životom.
She says, I never cried.
Rekla je, nikad nisam zaplakala.
Because when the call came,
jer kada je poziv došao,
I literally felt as if my heart in that moment turned to stone.
Osjetila sam kao da mi se srce u tom trenutku pretvorilo u kamen.
And I haven't cried since, and I haven't cried yet.
I otad nisam zaplakala i još nisam plakala.
She said, I used to be the one in the family who did all the prayers.
Rekla je da je ona bila ona ta koja je u obitelji uvijek molila.
And my husband was the one in the family who did all the drinking.
A moj muž je bio onaj koji je samo pio.
But after my boy died, we switched roles.
Ali nakon što je moj sin umro, zamijenili smo uloge.
My husband's doing all the praying.
Moj muž moli.
And I'm doing all the drinking.
A ja pijem.
With my heart so cold,
sa svojim tako hladnim srcem,
I will feed these girls,
nahranit ću ove cure,
but I won't love them.
Ali neću ih voljeti.
I'll wash their clothes,
opraću im odjeću,
but I don't want them near me.
Ali ne želim ih blizu sebe.
I don't want my husband close.
Ne želim svog muža blizu.
I don't want him to touch me.
Ne želim da me dodirne.
Because my heart is stone.
Jer moje srce je kamen.
What do you say to that?
Što reći na to?
Well, cheer up, have a nice day.
Ajde, malo se razveseli, imaj lijep dan.
And these 2 little kids were in the car, just terrified, I think.
I ovo 2 djece su bili u autu, jednostavno samo prestravljeni.
And I'm starting to realize I really don't have much to say to people.
Počinjem shvaćati da u stvari nemam šta puno za reći ljudima.
But the Lord can say things to people.
Ali im Bog može nešto reći.
So I said to the woman,
i kažem toj ženi,
that's tragic.
To je tragično.
And I am so sorry.
I toliko mi je žao zbog toga.
And I mean, I really don't know what to say.
Stvarno ne znam što bih rekao.
I said, but in our group, we have another parent who lost their son.
Ali u ovoj grupi imamo još jednog roditelja koji je izgubio svog sina.
He's right here with us today.
Upravo je ovdje sad s nama.
And she just perked up.
I ona je samo pogledala, počela tražiti.
And I said, his son was a good boy and an innocent boy.
Njegov sin je bio dobar sin i nevin.
And it was unfair violence that killed this other boy.
I nepravedno nasilje i njega ubilo.
And she said, he's here with your group now?
Kaže, on je sad ovdje s vama.
Yeah, he's here with us right now.
Ja kažem da, s nama je tu.
She says, do you think I could talk to him for a few minutes?
I pitala je, mogu li nasam razgovarati s njim na par minuta?
I said, I know he'd love to talk to you.
Rekao sam je, znam da je, sigurno će se rado popričati s tobom.
It's God the Father.
To je Bog Otac.
He knows everything about injustice.
On zna sve o nepravdi.
He knows everything about the innocent being killed.
Zna sve o tome kako nevini stradavaju.
There's nothing any of us can say.
Nema ništa što bi neko od nas mogao reći.
But he can say a lot.
Ali on može reći puno.
And without any other words, we simply handed her the cross.
I bez ikakve druge riječi samo smo joj predali križ.
She grabbed that cross like a drowning person would grab a life ring.
Zgrabila je taj križ kao osoba koja se utapa uže za spašavanje.
She embraced that cross like a child would embrace their teddy bear or their doll.
Zagrlila je taj križ kao što malo dijete zagrli najdražu igračku.
There was nothing we could say.
Nije bilo ništa što smo mogli reći.
We stood in a quiet circle around her.
Stajali smo u jednom tihom krugu oko nje
And we prayed.
i molili.
As she held that cross,
Kako je držala taj križ,
all of a sudden there was just this cry that came out.
odjedan put je jedan vapaj izašao iz nje.
And the first tear appeared.
I prva suza se pojavila.
And it ran down her cheek.
I krenula niz obraza.
And I don't know if this was correct or not. I reached out and I got the tear.
I ne znam je li to bilo dobro, ali samo sam posegnuo i uzeo tu suzu.
And I touched it to the wood of the cross.
I stavio ju na drvo križa.
And maybe for a few moments that drop sat on the wood.
I nekoliko trenutaka ta kap je stajala na drvetu.
And then it was absorbed into the cross.
I onda je jednostavno križ ju apsorbirao.
And she cried.
I plakala je.
And she laughed.
I smijala se.
And she cried some more.
I još je plakala.
And we just stayed out of the way of those two.
A mi smo samo se maknuli.
The poor
izvan
children
puta
in the
njih dvoje.
car had no idea what was going on.
Ovo dvoje jadne djece u autu nisu imali pojma što se događa.
And this went on for a while.
I to je neko vrijeme trajalo.
And then, just like the first man, this great peace came down on all of us.
I onda kao i sa ovim prvim čovjekom, jedan veliki mir je sišao na sve nas.
And she was standing there laughing with tears running down her face.
I stala je tamo smijući se, a suze i dalje je teku niz lica.
She said, I can feel my heart again.
Rekla je, opet mogu osjetiti svoje srce.
Yeah, it's back.
Da, tu je, nazad je.
And the two kids were in the car crying.
I dvoje djece u autu je plakalo.
She drops to her knees
Pada na koljena
and says, come here, kids.
i govori im, dođite djeco.
They almost flew out of that car.
Gotovo da su izletili iz auta,
And they jumped into her arms.
skočili u njeno naručje.
And not only was her life changed that day, so was theirs.
Ne samo da se njen život promijenio tog dana, nego i njihovi životi su se promijenili.
I've never felt love like this for them before.
Rekla je, nikad do sad nisam osjetila toliku ljubav prema njima.
And then she smiled and said,
I onda se nasmijala i rekla,
maybe I need to go home and see my husband.
možda bi trebala ići kući i vidjeti muža.
I think he'll be happy.
Mislim da će biti sretan.
And so she's getting the kids back in the car.
Stavlja djecu nazad u auto
And she turns and says to me,
i okrene se i kaže mi,
I was so drunk when I left this morning from my house
bila sam toliko pijana kad sam izašla iz kuće
that
jutros,
I pointed my car in the empty direction where there's nobody, and I've been driving 100 miles an hour throughout the last 4 hours.
i zadnjih 4 sata usmjerila sam auto prema praznini gdje nema nikoga i zadnjih 4 sata vozim otprilike 150 na sat.
I was running away from everything.
Bježala sam od svega
And all of a sudden there's a cross.
i jedan put evo križa.
And she said to me,
I rekla mi je,
how did you arrange it to meet me here?
kako si posložio da se nađemo ovdje?
And I look over at my guide,
Pogledala sam na svog tipa,
who's now the hero of the day.
koji je odjedan put heroj dana.
And I said, oh, God makes his own arrangements.
I rekao sam, A Bog sam dogovara ovakve stvari.
And the guy says, amen, that's right, that's right.
A ovaj govori, amen, tako je, tako.
Yeah, so he's the big hero of the day.
Postoje veliki heroj.
I still have the cross.
I dalje imam
I
križ.
still have it in my home. I pray with it every day.
I dalje je kod mene kući, svaki dan molim s njime.
But I have a special place in my heart at that one spot on the cross.
Ali taj jedno mjesto na križu ima posebno mjesto u mom srcu.
Because that's where it took her tears.
Jer je tu križ uzeo njene suze.
Did that bring her son back? No.
Je li joj to vratilo sina? Nije.
But it gave them their lives back.
Ali njima vratilo njihov život.
And they were restored.
I oni su bili obnovljeni.
Because they found the ability to cry into the wood of the cross.
Jer su pronašli mogućnost da mogu plakati na drvetu križa.
That to me is mystery.
To je po meni tajstvo.
I don't understand it.
Ne razumijem ga.
I'm wondering, maybe could we take a moment just to maybe have a song and just thank God for his goodness, his mercy and his love.
Možda bi mogli uzeti trenutak i otpjevati jednu pjesmu i zahvaliti Bogu na njegovom milosrđu, ljubavi i dobroti.
God is worthy to be thanked and praised.
Bog je vrijedan našeg slavljenja.
So why don't we get out of the way and let them praise the Lord?
Mi ćemo se maknuti s puta i pustiti njima da slave.
Zahvali srcem prepunim, zahvali Otcu svetomu, zahvali jer ti je dao Isusa, Sina svoj. Zahvali srcem prepunim, zahvali Otcu svetomu, zahvali jer ti je dao Isusa, Sina svoj. I sad neka slab kliče, ja sam jak, a siromah, ja sam bogat, zbog onog što mi Bog učini. I sad neka slab kliče, ja sam jak, a siromah, ja sam bogat, zbog onog što mi Bog učini. I sad neka slab kliče, ja sam jak, a siromah, ja sam bogat, zbog onog što mi Bog učini. I sad I sad neka slav kliče, ja sam jak, a siroma, ja sam bogat, zbog onog što mi Bog učini. Zahvali srcem prepuni, zahvali Otcu svetomu, zahvali jer ti je dao Isusa, Sina svog. Zahvali srcem prepuni, zahvali Otcu svetomu, zahvali jer ti je dao Isusa, Sina svog. I sad neka slav. I sad neka slav kliče, ja sam jak, a siroma, ja sam bogat, zbog onog što mi Bog učini. I sad neka slav kliče, ja sam jak, a siroma, ja sam bogat, zbog onog što mi Bog učini. I sad neka slav kliče, ja sam jak, a siroma, ja sam bogat, zbog onog što mi Bog učini. I sad neka slav kliče, ja sam jak, a siroma, ja sam bogat, zbog onog što mi Bog učini. I sad neka slav kliče, ja sam jak, a siroma, ja sam bogat, zbog onog što mi Bog učini. Zahvali.
When people encounter the cross,
kada ljudi susretnu križ,
everybody gets what they need.
svako od nas dobije što treba.
And no two of us are alike.
I nema dvoje istih ljudi.
No two of us, our stories are exactly alike.
I nemaju dvije jednake priče.
And God in his wisdom knows what each one of us needs.
I Bog u svojoj mudrosti zna što svako od nas treba.
So when God invites us to the cross,
Kad nas Isus poziva križu,
he's not doing it because he's mad.
ne radi to zato što je ljut,
He's doing it because he loves us.
radi to zato što nas voli.
And there's something in that that's for us.
I postoji nešto u tome što je za nas.
When you get the cross, we usually don't like it.
Kada primimo križ, najčešće nam se ne sviđa.
But we trust that God knows what he's doing.
Ali vjerujemo da Bog zna što radi.
I can remember one day I was walking down the road by myself,
Sjećam se jednog dana sam hodao sam cestom
and a car drove past me very slow.
i auto je jako sporo prošao pokraj mene.
And just up ahead of me, the car pulls over.
I malo ispred mene se auto zaustavi
And a woman gets out with two little children.
i žena izađe vani sa dvoje male djece.
One was a toddler,
Jedno je bilo baš
and one
godinu
was still
dvije,
in a stroller.
a drugo je bilo još uvijek u kolicima.
And she just stood by the side of the road. The car left, and the woman stood by the side of the road with the two children.
Auto je nastavio dalje, a žena je ostala s to dvoje djece stajati kraj ceste.
And as I approach her,
Kako sam je prilazio,
she says, I would like to carry the cross.
rekla mi je, voljela bih nositi križ.
She's going to have her hands full with the children and the cross.
Imaće pune ruke djece i križa.
And I said, well, okay.
Pa sam joj rekao, ok.
And she goes, thank you. And she takes the cross,
Rekla je, hvala ti, uzela križ
and then she starts walking.
i počela hodati.
I'm like, excuse me, you left something back here.
Rekao sam joj, oprostite, nešto ste zaboravili ovdje iza.
She's gone.
Samo je odjurila.
And she yells back, oh, just bring them along with you, will you?
I samo se derala. A možeš ih povesti sa sobom? Može tako.
Hey, lady, I do crosses, I don't do kids.
Rekao sam je, mlada damo, ja nosim križeve, ne djecu.
So here I am, I got my big backpack on,
Imam svoj veliki ruksak.
and I'm pushing the stroller down the road
Guram kolica niz cestu
with a little toddler crying, I'm walking along.
sa malim djetetom koje plače dok hoda uz mene.
And this lady was having some kind of a beautiful moment with Jesus.
Ova dama je imala jedan očito prekrasan trenutak s Isusom,
And I was having a beautiful moment with a dirty diaper.
a ja sam imao prekrasan trenutak s prljavom pelenom.
And I'm like, how does this happen to me?
I pitao sam se kako mi se ovo moglo
I mean,
dogoditi.
it's one thing to be crucified with Christ,
Jedno je biti raspet sa Kristom,
but to be carrying this kid with a dirty diaper, that's a whole nother thing.
ali nositi dijete sa punom pelenom je ipak neka druga priča.
And I'm glad she was having a beautiful moment with God.
Bilo mi je drago što ona imala dijelila prekrasan trenutak sa Gospodinom.
And, the little kids, I'm giving it crackers and water, and the mother's in glory walking down with the cross.
Ja djeci dajem krekere, vodu, a mama u slavi hoda sa križem.
2 hours later, finally she stops walking.
2 sata kasnije napokon prestane
Like,
hodat.
thank God, I've got a kid in my arm, I'm pushing a stroller.
Kažem, Bože, hvala ti, dijete mi u ruci, guram drugom kolica.
And right on time, the car pulls up,
I točno u vrijeme auto se zaustavlja
and we catch up to her, and she starts taking the kids and put them in the car.
Susretnemo se, ona preuzme djecu i počne ih stavljati u auto.
And she laughs and she says to me,
Smije se i kaže mi,
time to switch back to our original crosses.
vrijeme je da se vratimo na svoje originalne križeve.
And that really was a good lesson for me.
I to mi je bila baš dobra lekcija.
Because it's almost easier to carry a cross like that
Gotovo je lakše nositi ovakav križ
than the daily responsibilities of life.
nego dnevne dužnosti u životu.
And somehow we think this is holy,
Nekako mislimo da je ovo sveto,
and that's just life.
a ovo je samo život.
But the fact is, everything we do in the name of the Lord is holy.
Ali istina je da sve što radimo u ime Gospodnje je sveto.
So she left,
Ona je otišla,
and I thought, boy, what a good life I've got.
a ja sam pomislio kako dobar život živim.
All I got to do is walk 2,000 more miles with this big cross.
Sve što moram još napraviti je hodati još 3000 km sa ovim
Man, have I
velikim
got it
križem.
good.
Kako mi je dobro.
So I complained a lot less after that.
Puno sam se manje žalio nakon toga.
So all you cross bearers,
Svi vi nositelji križeva,
my sincere compliments to you.
moje iskrene čestitke.
The real heroes carry the kids.
Pravi heroj nosi djecu.
Congratulations.
Čestitam vam.
There were many great images and great lessons for all of us in the carrying of the cross.
U tom nošenju križa bilo je mnogo prekrasnih lekcija i slika koje nas mogu podučiti.
One time we stopped at a Catholic church in an area where there's a lot of water, a lot of swamps and rivers.
Jednom smo se zaustavili kraj katoličke crkve koja je na području gdje ima puno vode, puno močvara i rijeka.
So we stopped at the church to rest and get a little water and get ready to continue on our way.
Zaustavili smo se kod crkve da se malo odmorimo, uzmemo malo vode i nastavimo dalje.
But there was a lot of water in this area.
Ali bilo je jako puno vode u tom području.
And the roads were very narrow and then a very steep bank down to very deep water.
I ceste su bile jako uske sa jako strmim padinama odmah u cestu koja bude u duboku vodu.
And in this part of my country we have alligators.
I u tom dijelu države imamo aligatore.
So you may not drown, you might just get eaten by an alligator.
Možda se nećeš topiti, možda ćete samo aligator pojesti.
So you want to be sure you're staying on the road.
Želiš biti siguran da hodaš ravno po cesti.
The problem is the shoulder of the road, between the road and the slope was very, very narrow. Probably not wider than this.
Problem je što je dio po kojem se može hodati nije bio širi od ovog ambona.
And I was saying to people, be very, very careful walking here.
Govorio sam ljudima, budite jako oprezni dok hodate.
If you step out in front of a car, you're in trouble.
Ako iskoračite ispred auta, u problemu ste.
If you slip down this grass, you're really in trouble.
Ako se posliznete na travu, stvarno ste u opasnosti.
Please pay attention when you're walking.
Molim vas, gledajte gdje hodate.
Just then a car pulls up in the car park.
I baš u to vrijeme se auto parkira na parkiralištu.
And a woman who was driving the car comes over to us.
I žena koja ga je vozila nam prilazi.
And she said, my friend heard about this on the radio.
Kaže, moj prijatelj je čuo za vas na radiju.
And she wants to carry the cross.
I ona želi nositi križ.
That's fine. People are always coming up to carry the cross.
To je bilo ok. Ljudi su stalno prilazili i pitali mogu li nositi križ.
So I said, yeah, get your friend. Let's go. She can carry the cross.
Rekao sam joj, dobro, pozovi prijateljicu neka dođe i nosit će križ.
So she walks around the car, opens the passenger door.
Hoda oko auta, otvara vrata od suvozača.
And a woman gets out very slow and very careful.
Žena izađe jako sporo i jako pažljivo.
And as she's walking, she's kind of putting her hands on the car.
I kako hoda, oslanja se rukama na auto.
And the friend kind of takes her by the arm.
I ta prijateljica ju drži za ruku.
And brings her over to us.
Dovede ju do nas.
She says, this is my friend Mary. She wants to carry the cross.
Kaže, ovo je moja prijateljica Mary, ona želi nositi križ.
And then she leans over to me to whisper.
Malo se približe meni da bi mi šapnula.
She's completely blind. She can't see anything.
Potpuno je slijepa, ništa ne može vidjeti.
Okay.
Okay.
The problem is, out of respect for the cross, it always led the way.
Problem je zbog poštovanja prema križu, uvijek je križ išao prvi.
If you have the cross, you are at the front of the line, leading the whole group.
Ako nosiš križ, ti si na vrhu grupe i vodiš cijelu grupu.
And I'm thinking, this really isn't safe.
Ja si razmišljam u glavi, ovo stvarno nije sigurno.
I feel real bad, but this isn't really a correct thing.
Osjećam se jako loše, ali mislim da to nije ispravna stvar.
So I walked over to Mary.
Priđem Mary.
And I was about to say, thank you, but it's not possible, we're so sorry.
I htio sam je reći, hvala ti, nije moguće, ali jako nam je žao zbog toga i tako.
And just as I'm ready to open my mouth,
I baš dok se pripremam otvoriti usta,
I felt God say,
osjetio sam da mi Bog govori,
leave her alone, I'll take care of her.
Pusti ju, ja ću se brinuti za nju.
Okay.
Ok.
So I handed Mary the cross.
Predam Mary križ.
And I said, Mary, we're so glad that you're here.
Kaže mi, Mary, tako nam je drago što si ovdje.
And we have a very narrow pathway to walk.
Imamo jako uzak put koji moramo hodati.
But we're all with you.
Ali svi smo uz tebe.
And I'm thinking, we're all going to die.
I razmišljam se, svi ćemo umrijeti.
Half are going to get run over.
Pola će nas pregaziti.
And the other half are going to drown and get eaten by alligators.
A druga polovica će se ili utopiti ili će ih aligator.
Something about the blind leading the blind, you know?
Čuli ste ono, slijepac slijepca vodi.
So like I kind of give her the cross. I don't want to let go. Like I give her the cross.
Dajem križ, ali ga ne želim pustiti.
And you've probably seen this before.
Vjerojatno ste ovo već vidjeli.
People who can't see often use their hands. It's almost like they can see through their hands. You know what I mean?
Ljudi koji ne vide, kao da vide kroz ruke, koriste ruke da bi opipali vidjeli.
And she had sunglasses on.
Ona je imala sunčanice na očima.
And when we handed her the cross, what did she have on? What did she have on?
Sunburns.
Oh, well, it was a hot day.
Bio je vruć dan.
So she had a sunburn and sunglasses. So you're absolutely correct.
Imala je sunčanicu i naočala.
He's correct. He corrected my mistake.
Ispravio sam njegovu pogrešku.
Sunburn lady with sunglasses. Now
žena sa sunčanicom i sa sunčanim naočalom.
But when she got that cross,
kad je primila taj križ,
she started rubbing her hands on the wood.
Počela je svojim rukama dodirivati drvo.
And you could see her lips quivering.
I mogli ste vidjeti kako joj se usne tresu.
And tears started running out from behind the sunglasses.
I suze su počele izvirati izvan naočala.
And she pulled her arm away from her friend.
Povukla je ruku iz zagrljaja prijateljice.
And she said, "It's okay now.
Rekla je, u redu je sada.
I can find my way.
Mogu pronaći svoj put.
I have the cross."
I sada imam križ.
And this blind woman,
i ova slijepa žena,
we got her out to the point on the road.
Doveli smo ju do početka puta.
And this blind woman who could not physically see,
ova slijepa žena koja fizički nije mogla vidjeti,
she held that cross like it was the greatest treasure on earth.
Držala je taj križ kao da je najveće blago na zemlji.
Because it is the greatest treasure on earth.
Jer je najveće blago na zemlji.
And she took the cross.
Uzela je križ.
And she tapped it on the ground.
Udarala je lagano po podu.
If it kind of slipped, she knew she was on the grass.
I ako bi se malo poskliznulo, znala bi da je na travi.
If she hit something hard,
ako je udarala nešto tvrdo,
that was the road.
To je bila cesta.
If she hit something kind of crunchy, that was the gravel.
Ako je udarala nešto što je lomljivo, to je bio šljunak.
And she took one step.
I išla je korak po korak.
And then started the process again.
I onda je ponovo započela proces.
One step.
I onda još jedan korak.
It took us hours to go anywhere.
Trebalo je proći sati da bilo gdje dođemo.
But a woman who is completely blind led us down the correct path.
Ali žena koja je potpuno slijepa vodila nas je ispravnim putem.
Because she had the cross.
Jer je imala križ.
Now here's the ironic part of this.
Sada je ironični dio ovoga.
We're walking down a road.
Hodamo niz cestu.
And cars are going by.
I auti prolaze pokraj nas.
And people did not want to look at the cross.
I ljudi nisu htjeli gledati u križ.
They suddenly looked at their phones.
Odjedanput bi pogledali u mobitele.
They looked at their watches.
U satove.
They adjusted the visors in the car.
Malo bi prilagodili vizira na auto.
But they did not want to look at the cross.
Ali nisu htjeli gledati u križ.
It's too weird, it's too strange.
Prečudno je,
And I was struck by this irony.
I ova ironija me pogodila.
An entire world is going by.
Cijeli svijet prolazi.
Who have two good eyes.
Koji imaju dvoje dobre oči.
And they cannot see love when they drive by it.
I ne vide ljubav kad prođu pokraj nje.
And one woman who is completely blind.
A jedna žena koja je potpuno slijepa.
Walks by the guidance of that cross.
Ide putem kojim je vodi taj križ.
Jesus himself said that a lot of people who see really are blind.
Isus je rekao da mnogi oni koji vide su u stvari slijepi.
He'll heal the blindness.
Kaže da će izliječiti sljepoću.
If we ask for it.
Ako to zamolimo.
But when we say we've got it all figured out,
ali mi kažemo, znamo sve i ostajemo slijepi.
A very similar story like that happened a few weeks later.
Iako slična priča se dogodila nekoliko tjedana kasnije.
A group of us are going down the road.
Grupa nas je išla cestom.
And a van pulls up, like a delivery van.
I kombi, kao dostavni kombi, se zaustavi pokraj nas.
The driver gets out and runs around and opens the side doors.
Vozač izađe van i otvori ova vrata sa strane.
And inside the van is a woman sitting up with 2 full-length casts on her legs. From her hips to her toes, she's in a cast.
I žena sjedi iza u tom dostavnom dijelu sa 2 proteze na nogama, doslovno.
And the door slides open.
Vrata se otvaraju.
And she goes, hi.
Ona kaže, Bog.
She says, I came out to carry the cross.
Došla sam nositi križ.
What is this?
Šta je ovo?
I said, oh, great, wonderful.
Kaže, odlično, prekrasno.
Can you see?
Da li vidiš?
At least give me something to work with.
Daj mi bar nešto.
Yeah. So I said, if I may ask, why do you want to carry the cross?
Ako mogu pitati, zašto želiš nositi križ?
And she said, I like to party a lot.
Volim jako tulumarit.
And I like to drink. I like to drink a lot.
I voljela sam puno piti.
She said about 4 months ago,
prije 4 mjeseca,
I was coming home from the bar at night.
Vraćala sam se iz bara
I was
noću.
driving my car.
Vozila sam svoj auto.
And I was speeding like crazy.
I vozila sam kao luda.
And I was drunk.
A bila sam potpuno pijana.
I went off the road.
Sletila sam s ceste.
And I was heading right for a large telephone utility pole.
I išla sam ravno prema velikom telefonskom stupu.
And she said, just before everything went black,
prije nego što se sve zamračilo ispred očiju,
I said,
rekla sam,
God have mercy on me.
Gospodine, smiluj mi se.
Save my life.
Spasi moj život.
And then everything went black.
I onda se sve zacrnilo.
She hit the pole.
Udarila je u stup.
The car was almost cut in half.
Auto je gotovo prepolovljen.
In fact, when the rescue people got there,
kada su spasioci došli tamo,
they didn't even go to the car.
Čak nisu ni išli prema autu.
They said nobody could survive that.
Rekli su, nema šanse da je neko to mogao preživjeti.
We'll just wait for the people to come to remove the body.
Pričekat ćemo da dođu ostale koji će izvaditi tijelo.
And to everyone's amazement,
i na svačije čudo,
when they cut the car open,
kad su otvorili auto,
she was still alive.
I dalje je bila živa.
And she broke both of her legs.
Slomila je obje svoje noge.
But everything else was perfectly fine.
A sve ostalo je bilo potpuno u redu.
So this was a Saturday morning now when she comes up in the van.
Kada nam je došla, bila je subota ujutro.
And she says, I have been laying on my couch for the last few months.
Rekla je, ležala sam na svom kauču posljednjih nekoliko mjeseci.
And I've been thanking God every day for saving my life.
I zahvaljivala Gospodinu svaki dan što je spasio moj život.
And I was laying on my couch this morning.
I ovog jutra ležala sam na kauču.
And I said to God,
i rekla sam Bogu,
how can I ever pay you back for giving me my life back?
Kako ti se ikad mogu odužiti što si mi vratila život?
And just at that moment,
i u tom trenutku,
I see a cross going by in front of my house.
Vidim križ kako prolazi pokraj moje kuće.
She says, I couldn't get off the couch to get your attention.
Nisam mogla ustati s kauča da bi vam privukla pažnju.
But I called my friend who's got a van.
Ali nazvala sam prijatelja koji ima kombi.
So they came over and picked me up.
Došli su i pokupili su me.
And I can't bend.
Ne mogu se nasloniti.
So they just kind of laid me in the back of the van.
Samo su me položili.
So here I am to carry the cross.
I evo me ovdje da nosim križ.
It's like, I think we're going to have to carry you.
Mislim da tebe moramo ipak nositi.
I said, okay, great.
Rekao sam, ok, odlično, evo ti.
I said, how are we going to do this?
Pitao sam, kako ćemo to točno izvesti?
And she said, I don't know.
Rekla,
okay.
Ne znam.
So about 5 of us kind of stand her up.
Nas petorica ju podigne.
Like Frankenstein coming off the table.
Izgledala je kao Frankenstein ustaje sa stola.
Yeah. So she's standing, but I mean she's in 2 columns of concrete.
Doslovno je u 2 komada ko betona.
And she's got these crutches so she doesn't fall over.
Ima štake samo da se ne prevali.
And I'm thinking, we're going to be out here all day.
Bit ćemo ovdje cijeli dan.
So I said, well, what are we going to do?
Što ćemo sada?
She says, give me the cross,
Kaže, dajte mi križ
and he and I can figure it out.
i nas dvoje ćemo to shvatiti.
So we handed her the cross.
Predali smo joj križ,
She gave us her crutches,
dala nam je svoje štake,
and she put all of her weight on that cross,
svu svoju težinu je prislonila
and
na
she
križ
pushed this concrete column forward
i gurala ove betonske stupove naprijed,
and got her balance back,
vratila svoju ravnotežu,
put the cross in the ground, and moved the other foot forward.
stavila križ u zemlju i onda drugu nogu.
And I couldn't even watch this. It was so pathetic. I couldn't even watch it.
Bilo je toliko patetično da uopće nisam mogao gledati.
So I go to the back of the line.
Ja odem na kraj reda,
I'll let her and Jesus take care of this.
pustit ću nju i Isusa da to
And I
srede.
just kept my head down because I didn't want to see what was going on.
Držao sam svoju glavu dole samo da ne vidim što se događa.
But here's what I saw in the dirt.
Ali ovo sam vidio u prljavštini na podu.
I saw the spot where the cross hit the ground,
Vidio bi mjesto gdje bi križ udario u zemlju.
and then I saw two drag marks.
Onda sam vidio dva traga vučenja.
And I saw the next spot where the cross hit the
I
ground,
onda drugo mjesto gdje je križ udario u zemlju.
and I saw two drag marks.
I opet dva traga.
She was even slower than the blind lady.
Bila je sporija i od ove slijepe gospođe.
But we finally made it to this town.
Ali napokon smo došli do tog grada.
Now here's the funny part of the story.
I evo smiješnog dijela priče.
We drag past the bar where she was drinking the night that she had the accident.
Vukli smo se doslovno do bara gdje je pila prije nesreće
And
koja
she
je
goes,
uzgledila.
all my friends are in there.
Rekla je, svi moji prijatelji su unutra.
I want to go see them. Like, oh.
Želim ih ići vidjeti.
So she drags to the front of the bar.
Uvuče se do ulaza u bar.
And all of her friends come running out.
I svi njeni prijatelji izađu van.
Everybody's got a beer in their hand.
Svi imaju pivo u ruci.
And one guy's carrying a six-pack under his arm.
A drugi nosi 6 komada ispod ruke.
And they were so happy to see her.
I bili su toliko sretni što ju vide.
It's great to have you back. You want a beer?
I baš mi je drago što ste se vratili, hoćeš pivo?
And she goes, I'm here for something different today.
Kaže, došla sam ovdje zbog nečeg drugog danas.
She says, God saved my life.
Bog mi je spasio život.
And I'm going to live my life for him.
Živjet ću svoj život za njega.
And you're going to live your life for him too.
I vi ćete živjeti svoj život za njega.
Huh?
Ha?
She says, I want everybody now out of the bar, everybody out.
Želim da sad svi odjedanput izađete iz bara. Ajmo, svi van.
All these people kind of like walk out of the bar with their beer in their hand.
Svi izlaze iz bara s pivom u ruci.
She says, I want you to walk with me.
Želim da hodate sa mnom.
We're going to carry the cross.
Nosit ćemo križ.
And these people are like, what?
I ljudi gledaju,
She goes,
šta?
I'm serious. We're all going to carry this cross today.
I ona kaže, ozbiljna sam, svi ćemo nositi ovaj križ danas.
So people are kind of holding her up.
Ljudi su na neki način nju držali
And she starts passing the cross to the next person.
i počinje dodavati križ drugoj osobi.
So we're moving down the road carrying this cross.
Nekako idemo niz cestu
And she
noseći
says,
križ.
okay, next.
I ona govori, dobro, idući.
And this guy turns to me
I ovaj dečko mi se
and
okrene.
he says, I'm going to carry the cross. Can you hold my beer?
Kaže mi, sad ću nositi križ, možeš li mi uzeti pivu?
Okay.
Ok.
But it was amazing how her journey was starting to affect the others.
Ali bilo je nevjerojatno kako je njeno putovanje počelo utjecati na druge.
And later we had a very profound time of prayer with them.
Poslije smo imali jedno jako duboko vrijeme molitve s njima.
So as we carry our cross,
Kako mi nosimo svoj križ,
we have no idea how it can help and benefit the people around us.
ne možemo ni shvatiti koliko to može na dobro koristiti onima koji su oko nas.
We're going to go into adoration in just a minute.
Uskoro ćemo krenuti u klanjanje.
And if I may, I'd like to share one last story about the cross.
I ako mogu, htio bih podijeliti zadnju priču o križu.
On this occasion, I was by myself, a very hot day in the desert.
To je bio dan kad sam bio sam, jako vruć dan u pustinji.
And it was kind of in the middle of the morning.
I bilo je usred jutra.
And a really nice luxury car pulls up.
I jako lijep luksuzni auto stane kraj mene.
And a very nicely dressed woman gets out of the car.
I jako lijepo obučena žena izlazi iz auta.
The air conditioning was blowing in the car.
Klima je radila u autu, puhala jako.
So she looked like perfect.
Izgledala je savršeno.
I've got dirt on my face.
Ja sam imao
I'm
prljavštine na
sweating.
licu.
It's terrible.
Znojim se, katastrofa.
And this lady kind of walks out of a magazine and says, "Hi, I'd like to carry the cross."
I ova žena kao da izlazi iz magazina, dolazi, Bog, htjela bi nositi križ.
And I said, okay. I said, "Do you have any water? Do you have a hat? Are you ready for this?"
I kaže me, ok, da li imaš išta vode, da li imaš neku kapu, nisam spremna na ovo.
"I'm just going to leave the car here and town isn't far. I'll just walk for maybe, an hour."
Rekla je, ma dobro, ostavit ću auto ovdje, grad je u blizini, hodat ću možda sat vremena.
I said, "Okay."
Rekao sam, ok.
She walks back to the car.
Vrati se do auta,
She opens the back door.
otvori zadnja vrata
And she gets her little girl out of her seat to walk with me.
i izvadi sa zadnjeg sjedala svoju malu djevojčicu da hoda sa mnom.
I said, "Are you sure this is safe for her?"
Pitao sam, jesi li sigurna da je to sigurno za nju?
It was about 110 degrees Fahrenheit.
Bilo je otprilike 50 stupnjeva Celzijeva.
And it was just late morning. It was going to get worse.
To je bilo rano ujutro, samo je išlo na gore.
Oh, she'll be fine.
O, bit će u redu.
Well, take care of her.
Pripazi na nju.
Don't leave her with me.
Nemoj je ostavljati sa mnom.
So this lady starts walking. She's got a little girl by the hand.
Ova mlada dama počinje hodati, vodi dijete za ruku.
Mommy, I want to walk with Jesus. I want to walk with Jesus. I want to walk with...
Mama, hoću ja hodati s Isusom, hoću ja hodati s Isusom.
Quiet.
Šuti, tiho.
So the mother very, reverently starts walking down the road with the cross.
Mama pobožno počne hodati niz cestu s križem.
Hey, mister, I want to carry the cross. I want to carry the cross. I want to carry the cross.
Gospodine, ja bih htjela nositi križ, ja bih htjela nositi križ.
That's very good. Isn't he great? Wow, that's amazing. You just got the right technique, man. The right technique. So the mother says, quiet. I'm praying.
Mama kaže, tiho, molim.
So the little girl keeps saying, "Mister, I want to carry the cross."
I curica nastavlja govoriti, gospodine, želim nositi križ.
Just cool it, kid.
Kao, samo se ohladi.
So the mother stops.
Majka stane.
And she turns to me and says, "Oh, it's rather warm out here."
Okrene mi se kaže, poprilično je vruće ovdje vani.
Yeah, lady, we're in the middle of the desert in the summer.
Da, gospođo, usred smo pustinje, usred ljeta.
Right now, our brains are baking inside our head.
Upravo u ovom trenutku naš mozak se peče unutar naše lobanje.
Yeah, it's warm out here.
Da, jako je vruće.
She says, "Can't you do something about the weather?"
Kažem, zar ne možeš učiniti ništa po pitanju vremena?
I said, "You'll have to talk to my boss."
Rekao sam, o tome moraš pričati s mojim šefom.
She says, "I still want to pray with you."
I dalje želim moliti s tobom.
"But I think I'll follow you in my air-conditioned car.
Ali mislim da ću te pratiti svog auta s klimom.
And you carry the cross, and I'll drive behind you in my car."
Ti nosi križ, a ja ću se voziti za tebe u autu.
And I wanted to say to her,
Želio sam je reći,
"How about you carry the cross, and I'll drive behind you in your air-conditioned car?" But I didn't say that.
kako je bilo da ti voziš auto, da ti nosiš križ, a da ja vozim tvoj auto iza tebe, ali nisam mi to rekao.
So, of course, the lady gets in the car,
Gospođa ulazi u auto.
and she goes to grab the little girl.
Ide uzeti curicu.
"Mommy, I didn't carry the cross yet."
Mama, ja još nisam nosila križ.
Oh, you've got two of them, so you know how to do that. Yeah, you're very good. You're very good. Yeah. This is a professional baby impersonator right here, ladies and gentlemen. We got the best baby impersonator in town tonight, just for you.
Profesionalni imitator beba, samo za vas.
So I said, "Well, she can walk with me, but don't go away, please. Don't leave. Stay with me."
I rekao sam, ok, može hodati sa mnom, ali nemojte me ostavljati samog.
So I've got this big cross I'm holding on to.
Imam veliki križ koji držim.
I've got this little kid holding my hand.
Imam malo dijete koje me drži za ruku.
Yeah, that's it. You're amazing. And the mother is behind me with the air conditioning blowing.
I mama je iza i klima joj puše u lice.
So the little kid says to me,
Malo dijete mi kaže,
I really want to carry the cross.
stvarno želim nositi križ.
And I said, honey, it's just too big.
Rekao sam im, draga, jednostavno je prevelik,
And she says, I want to try.
ali želim pokušati.
Okay.
Dobro.
I hand her this massive cross.
Daj mi ovaj ogromni križ.
And she's like dropping it and falling with it.
Ona će kao pada i posrće se s
And she
njime.
says, Mister, how do you carry a cross?
Pita me, gospodine, kako vi nosite križ?
I said, sweetheart, you carry a cross any way you can.
Kaže mi, dijete, drago, nosiš križ kako god možeš i umiješ.
So she carried it like in her arms.
Nosila ga je kao u svojim rukama.
She tried to carry it on her back.
Pokušala je na leđima.
She put it on her shoulder.
Stavila na rame.
She just kind of dragged it along the road.
Nekako ga vukla niz cestu.
And this isn't a joke. This really happened.
Ovo nije šala, ovo se stvarno
She's trying to
dogodilo.
carry this cross and she tripped and she fell.
Pokušava nositi križ, postrne se i padne.
And she looked a little stunned and she got up and, tried again.
Izgledala onako malo uzdrmano, ali ustane i nastavi dalje.
She walked a little bit farther and she fell down again.
Hodala je i opet, nakon nekog vremena je pala.
And I said, honey, are you okay? She was, yeah, I'm okay. I just really want to help Jesus.
Rekao sam joj, dušo, jesi li dobro? Ona kaže, jesam, samo želim pomoći Isusu.
She falls a third time.
Pada treći puta.
And I mean, she literally, her knees are bleeding now.
I doslovno sad joj već koljena krvare.
And the mother's behind us, looking beautiful.
Mama iza nas izgleda prekrasno.
And her little knees are bleeding.
A njena mala koljena krvare.
And I said, that's it. You're done. You're not going to carry the cross anymore.
Rekao sam joj, to je to, više ne možeš nositi križ.
She looks at me and she says,
Pogleda me i kaže mi,
mister, they let Jesus carry the cross.
znaš šta, gospodine? Isusa su pustili da nosi križ.
This kid must be like a theologian or something.
Ovo dijete vjerojatno već teolog ili tako nešto.
And I said to her,
I rekao sam joj,
okay, I'll make you a deal.
ok, dogovorit ćemo se jednu stvar.
I'll let you carry the cross
Dopustit ću ti da nosiš križ
if you let me carry you.
ako mi dozvoliš da ja nosim tebe.
Okay.
Ok, može.
So, I've got a backpack.
Imam ruksak,
I've got this child in my arms
imam dijete u rukama
who's got a 2-meter cross in her arms,
koje u svojim rukama nosi križ od 2 metra,
followed by a very beautiful lady in a beautiful car.
koju prati jako lijepa žena u jako lijepom autu.
Dragging down the road.
Vučemo se po cesti.
And the light it was about noon, so the light was just over my back.
Bilo je podne i svjetlo mi je bilo doslovno iza leđa.
And I'm carrying this little kid,
Nosim to malo dijete
and I look down at my own shadow.
i pogledam u svoju sjenu.
And it became an icon for me.
I meni je to postala poput ikone.
Here's this little child
Malo dijete
with a very large cross
sa jako velikim križom
and somebody even bigger carrying her.
i netko još veći nosi nju.
And I said to her with her knees bleeding,
Rekao sam joj dok su ju koljena krvarila.
are you okay, honey?
Pitao sam jesi li ok, dušo?
She goes, I'm okay.
U redu sam, dobro sam.
And this is what she said.
I ovo je rekla.
It's a lot easier to carry the cross when somebody is carrying you.
Puno je lakše nositi križ dok netko drugi nosi tebe.
And I remember thinking, isn't that all of our story?
I sjećam se da sam razmišljao, zar to nije svačija priča?
I'm sorry to say, every one of us in this church tonight is called to carry their cross.
Žao mi je što moram svima reći, ali svi ovdje smo pozvani nositi svoj križ.
Whatever the circumstances, whatever the situation,
Koje god okolnosti bile, koje god situacije.
but I can testify,
Ali mogu vam posvjedočiti.
you'll never, ever have to carry that cross by yourself.
Ali nikad, ama baš nikad, taj križ nećete morati nositi sami.
That doesn't mean you don't get the cross,
To ne znači da nećete dobiti križ,
but you don't have to carry it alone.
ali ne morate ga nositi sami.
So at this time,
U ovom trenutku
we're going to have the Blessed Sacrament exposed.
izložit ćemo presveti sakrament.
This is the same Jesus who died on his cross 2000 years ago.
Ovo je isti Isus koji je umro na svom križu prije 2000 godina.
This is the same Jesus who came to the army veteran,
Ovo je isti Isus koji je došao veteranu iz rata,
the blind woman,
slijepoj ženi,
the woman in the cast,
ženi u gipsu,
the mother with the broken heart.
majci sa slomljenim srcem.
That Jesus is here tonight.
Taj Isus je ovdje večeras.
So, if I may, I would like to suggest
Ako smijem, želio bih predložiti
what I try to suggest to everybody.
ono što pokušavam svima predložiti.
Why don't we just go to him tonight?
Zašto mu se jednostavno danas ne bi obratili?
Cry if we need to.
Zaplačimo ako trebamo.
Come in our blindness.
Dođemo u svojim sljepoćama,
Come with our bad memories, our guilt, our pain.
sa svojim lošim sjećanjima, sa svojim bolima, krivnjama.
Come even in our inability to walk with him.
Čak i u našoj nesposobnosti da hodamo s njime.
And I feel very confident.
I osjećam se jako uvjereno
It's not up to us to fix anything here.
da nije do nas ovdje da bilo što riješimo.
Let him do his work.
Pustimo njega da on odradi svoj posao.
Because he says to you tonight,
Jer on vam večeras govori,
I have come
ja sam došao
that you may have life
da imate život,
and have it to the fullest.
da ga imate u punini.
Let's pray.
Hajmo se pomoliti.